We are live.
Oh, jolly good. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Gosh, here we are again. It's 2 weeks, isn't it, since we've been together?
Yes.
Right. So I hope this finds you all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Last Friday night, I was introduced to the Sensi magazine crew at an event in Hollywood. I'm going to be writing a column from that for their magazine, starting on the 1st of October, in which the first one I'll talk about, you know, using better get it right, haven't I?
Cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids. It's a difficult word for an old girl.
She hasn't even had any yet.
I know, I haven't even started on the sauce yet. Cannabinoids, on which I use topically on my arthritic knees and lower back and all that, and it's just terrific. It's not the stuff that makes you loopy, that's the...
You don't need any more of that.
No, no, I
You're
don't
loopy
need
without
any
anything.
assistance in that department. But it's the medical stuff, and it's absolutely wonderful. And it's spreading, and it's going to be totally legal in Canada, of course, early October.
Yeah, so you can tell these people that it's sensimag.com.
Sensimag.com, yes, go and have a look at it. And they're having another event on the 31st of October in Hollywood, which will be a Halloween party, which I look forward to going to. And I look like a drag queen for a start, so I'll be ready to go, I think.
You look like the Lord Mayor of Naughty Ash with
the
that.
Lord Mayor of Naughty Ash and my big heavy chain, yes. Anyway, so listen, the main thing to talk about, of course, here this morning is the Emmys, which were last night, which was
Monday.
Underwhelming for me.
Hello, Lawrence. I see our guest of the week. He's on. So when we are ready in a couple of minutes, we see all the right buttons, Lawrence. We will bring you on.
Jolly good. I suppose you're in hair and makeup right now, Lawrence, are you? Are you wearing your kilt, I wonder?
Indeed.
Oh, should have asked for that as a special request. But no, this the Emmys last night were a little bit, I don't know, they were all over the place, and the presenters didn't seem to quite know what they were doing, and they were talking about inclusiveness, and yet they didn't really, for me, the highlights were when one of the winners proposed to his lady friend. She came on stage and he gave the ring to her and knelt down and proposed. It would have been a divil if she'd said no.
Or if he hadn't won and got up on stage.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
indeed.
It's that, probably.
But good old Betty White, she rocks.
Betty White made an appearance. She's my hero. She looked gorgeous. She's 96 and still working. So that, says well. It gives me a chance. But, I'm just looking, I've made some little notes and things. Anyway, listen, I'm so excited to be able to hook up with Lawrence Gowan of Styx, and Gowan too. He's not in one band, he's in 2 bands. And he's got a kilt, which I mentioned before. So as long as he's available.
All right, let me try and get him on. He's lots of his fans are anxious and waiting, for this SOCAN winner, Juno, multi-nominee.
Oh, absolutely. He's a man of many parts, and they're all working, I believe.
Most of them working. So
I
add Lawrence, and it says adding. So hopefully, with the power vested in me by Facebook and Time Warner Cable Wi-Fi,
pronounce you.
Well, shortly pronounce you. Hopefully, Lawrence, you will see our little invitation. It says adding. Yeah, what this man hasn't done is absolutely amazing. And there he is! Yay! In full color.
Hello. How you doing?
Good morning. Thank you so
much. I got the quick word that you wanted to see this thing, so I went and grabbed it. So hang on. I mean, it's really embarrassing to put this on in front of people. Maybe we'll put it on a bit. Hang on, let me turn this air conditioner off so I can hear you.
I won't ask the obvious question.
No. I'm sorry?
I won't ask the obvious question about kilts and the lack of...
What would the obvious question be?
Donald, where's your trousers?
I know that one. Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're actually on my legs right now. Yeah. But they will depending on how the interview goes, they might get removed.
Ooh, we shall see.
I don't know. You might.
This is a family.
that might break the internet with disappointment.
I doubt. No, that's not what I've heard. But then, hey. So listen. By the way, this is going to be a politically free hour. because I just don't go with all that stuff. I get so weird with it all.
Well, that's fine. We don't have politics here in Canada.
That's right.
Good boy. Best answer. Good answer.
We have public servants. I don't know if that's the same thing or not.
It should be, but it doesn't quite work out that way.
Good.
Anyway, never mind. But I just wanted to mention that before we move on into fun stuff, the situation in the Carolinas with the aftermath of the hurricane, my good friend Joan Alford, her house has managed to survive, although she's very worried about it because there's trees overhanging and the water is soaking the trees.
I know. So we send big love to all those folks and Styx fans and Lawrence fans down in the Carolinas in Virginia. And if anybody tuning in wants to help, the Red Cross is the best way to do that.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. We were recently, just about a month ago, we were in Redding, California, and that city was devastated with fire. So we've seen some of these kind of horrible things up close, and it's amazing how resilient people can be. And so we'll just keep sending them a good thought.
Absolutely.
That's it. Good.
Absolutely. Well, there's lots of little Sapphire's got a Canadian flag popping up on the chat and what have you.
Yeah. So, Ruth, you've done your duty. You can sit down for a minute now while we start and talk. Hey, Lawrence, welcome to the House of Fun, by the way. And I was interested when I Googled you about a lot of stuff to find you were born in Glasgow. The last time I was there, I saw a lovely sign outside a pub that said, all the fighting to be over by 11 o'clock. It's a bit early to stop fighting.
That's a good sign. Actually, there are some great signs up like that in Glasgow. Once, maybe about 20 years ago, I was there with my uncle, and we were in a pub just outside Glasgow, right by a golf course. And there was a sign, right at the end of the bar, there's a sink. And the public can walk right by that sink. And it said on the sink, the sign said, all you golfers, please do not wash your dirty balls in this sink.
Lovely. Nice one.
Anyway, so I thought that was really classy.
Very classy, yes.
Very nice.
So listen now, please tell me about the latest Styx album. Isn't it somehow space related?
Yes. Actually, I got a copy right here.
Good-o.
Here it is. Freshly downloaded off the internet.
Vinyl, I love it.
I put it in a 3D, one of those 3D, what do you call them?
3D printer.
Manufacturing things. 3D printer. What a great word. Yeah, and it just came out like this. So this is called The Mission. It came out just over a year ago. It survived on the Billboard Classic Rock charts now for over a year, and we just did a big summer tour with Styx and Joan Jett and Tesla, and these songs are going down great. So it's Styx, The Mission. It's a story. It's really a story about the first mission to Mars. NASA mission to Mars, and some people might know that. I'll hold it like this, so it's really indiscreet.
And Facebook is turning it back to front, by the way, so it looks even sexier.
Does it?
It says XYSTS. Yes.
Okay. Well, the folks at NASA actually discovered a fifth moon around the planet Pluto, and they decided, just in 2015, they decided to name it Styx.
Wow.
And they're big Styx fans, and so, it was right in the midst of us working on this record, so it was very appropriate. And I think it's getting kind of heavy now, so I'm going to put it down.
Jolly good.
Now, one thing I found very interesting was that in 1993, I think it was, at Massey Hall, you celebrated Ronnie Hawkins' 60th birthday with Let It Rock, and that had Jerry Lee Lewis and Carl Perkins. Tell me more.
Well, it was Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, Jeff Healey, a fellow Canadian, phenomenal guitarist, and Ronnie Hawkins, and the band, because the band, was Levon Helm and Garth Hudson. They were the band that Ronnie Hawkins put together in the early 1960s, and then it was taken over by that famous band stealer, Bob Dylan. Scooped them one night at this club on Yonge Street here in Toronto. And anyway, it was to celebrate Ronnie's 60th birthday. So he had these guys there. So he had Jerry Lee Lewis on one piano. I was on the other. We had the guys from the band. It was like this rock and roll orchestra. Carl Perkins, Jeff Healey, Ronnie. And when I played in Ronnie's band for a brief period, I used to do a Little Richard thing. I've got lots of Little Richard on the 78s on the jukebox here,
Yeah.
and I really love them. And so I used to do Good Golly Miss Molly and Rip It Up and Long Tall Sally, a bunch of Little Richard songs. So Ronnie used to ask me to do those in his show. So I did it at his birthday party, and yeah, it went over pretty great.
That was a night.
It was one hell of a night. It was a hell of a night. Just to be looking across pianos at Jerry Lee Lewis alone was quite frightening. But I was wearing my hockey equipment, so I was fine.
Well, you know, whenever we British call it Yonge Street. Whenever I go down Yonge Street, I wear my
Yonge Street.
Yonge Street. I wear my hockey equipment too, just to be safe.
Just in case. Yeah.
It's never a bad fashion choice.
No,
not really. I'll tell you something else I was very interested to read about, the tribute you did to Princess Diana. Tell us how it came about.
Certainly. In 1990, I was doing a solo record called Lost Brotherhood in England in London, a studio called Olympic. And funny enough, coincidentally with that, Queen were recording what turned out to be their final album as a band with Freddie Mercury in the same studio, Olympic, in Barnes. Anyway, there was a song on the album we did called Healing Waters. And towards when we were finally finishing up the record, we decided it was one ballad too many, so we left it off. But when I came back to England in 1996, or early 97, I can't remember when it was, 96 or early 97, I started playing Healing Waters just on a little pub tour I was doing, and I was also opening for the Stranglers, you know, the band The Stranglers.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
Just solo piano, I was opening. Anyway, I played it on the radio a couple of times, and disc jockey there, I really liked it. And I came home, and a few months later, maybe less than 2 months later, the car crash happened, and he called my cousin, Andrew Henderson, who lives just outside Liverpool, and he asked him, you know, that song Healing Waters that your cousin played, we're looking for kind of songs to play that would somehow connect to Diana's life and somehow had some sort of emotion. He just remembered the song. So Andrew called me and he said, listen, if you can put it up, if you can put one line in there or something that relates to Princess Diana, it'd be great. And so I did that and sent it back then in 1997 it was, of course. It went by ISDN line. They played it like the same day, and it started getting a lot of positive reaction from people. But then a few days later, the funeral happened, and Elton John played Candle in the Wind, and that became the song. It was the only song that's really associated with that. However, a year later, I was there touring again, and I got a call from, apparently her family called, her mother, Frances Shankidd. She really liked the song. Her family liked the song, her brother Charles. They said, we'd like this to be played at the opening of her memorial at Althorpe. So they said, you know, they had Duran Duran, and they had Sir Cliff Richard, and they had this Canadian guy, Lawrence Gowan, that's me. And I was also kind of Scotland's, by default, Scotland's representative on the day. But what a beautiful day it was. It was an astounding occasion, if you can say that. It was about 20,000 people in front of Althorpe. And after, I remember the concert was spectacular, but then that night, we were invited to go into Althorpe, and we had a big sing-along, and I played actually a bunch of Beatles songs that Charles Spencer sang along with, and it was quite a night. And his mom, Diana's mom, Frances Shankidd, really kind of hit it off with her. She liked these ragtime pieces and stuff, and she just told me they heard the song and they really liked it, and they felt that it related well. And they said, in fact, at the time, they said there's going to be a fountain in London, and Healing Waters would be a great name for it. But I know it ended up being called the Diana Memorial Fountain, but that's the little story behind that.
That's wonderful.
Well, we shall send this broadcast through to Kensington Palace and make sure Prince William and Prince Harry get to see this, because they just absolutely love anything to do with honoring their mum, of course. What a great mum she was.
Well, they were young boys, obviously, at the time still, so they weren't present on that day, but no. All of Diana's family were there, and I played their family piano with all the pictures of the kids all on there. It was really kind of such a memorable day and something I love doing.
I'm sure it was.
That's fabulous. No, we'll send it through to the PR folks at Kensington Palace.
Great. Oh, thanks.
No problem.
Now, in addition to Styx, you have a separate career with Gowan, don't you?
Well, yes,
How do you
in
manage
Canada.
to juggle?
I'm sorry, last part?
I said, how do you manage to juggle both of them?
2 arms, moving really quickly.
2 arms.
The only thing, before I joined Styx, which was, I'm in my 20th year with the band now, I had a long solo career here in Canada. The way the record industry was then, the big labels, I was on CBS, on Columbia, but they often would keep certain acts, cordoned off to their respective countries and not necessarily get international exposure, which was one heck of a frustration. But anyway, in Canada, I had multi-platinum records and gold records, and people here know that, and they think I'm just bragging, but I'm just telling you anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of how I wound up meeting up with Styx. But about 8 years ago, on the 25th anniversary of this album I have called Strange Animal, we started doing gallon shows again. And the guys at Styx really, they encourage me because they say, whenever I come back from that, I bring some new little nuance into the personality of the band, and so I love doing it.
Well, what I think a lot of people, this is Ruth, a lot of people don't realize that being a touring musician is like being an athlete. You have to keep your game up. You have to keep your voice in, right?
That's absolutely correct. In a lot of ways, there are many similarities in that, you can pretty much do whatever you want to up until you're, while you're a kid up to
his Wi-Fi.
But beyond that,
right.
There we go. We back on? Okay. Basically,
yes,
you can.
Now a little birdie. Sorry.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Okay. So basically, beyond a certain age, we'll arbitrarily we'll pick 40. You have to start kind of really looking at. If you want to continue touring, you have to look at health issues. You have to look at all kinds of consider all kinds of choices. Absolutely. And that's what we've done. As a band, we've kept ourselves really vibrant and full of as much vitality as we possibly can, because the music does that to us naturally anyway.
Well, the vibration of the whole thing. I mean, it's
but the touring and the travel and everything is very tiring.
Quite honestly, Angie, the only part of the touring that I find tiring is really just the airplanes. But flying. Once we're on the tour bus is like a rolling 5-star hotel, and they're a joy to be on. I travel well, and there's not many people can say that they end their day with a few thousand people on their feet with big smiles on their faces and their arms in the air. That's just a great way to live your life.
Absolutely.
We work with Ricky Nelson's sons, the Nelson twins, Matthew.
I know the boys. I know them both.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I always say, oh, what about ice and delays and bad weather and what have you? And their dad taught them something very interesting. He said, you're only paid, you're not paid just for the hour or two that you're on stage. You're paid for your whole lifestyle, and travel is part of the job. And if the travel takes a bit longer, well, then so be it. Just roll with the cameras,
That's great advice, and quite honestly, he's totally right about that. I'd add to that, I never feel like, don't tell the band I said this, but I never feel like there's anything to be paid for in doing the show. But the pay is actually to get you to the show and on time, and
that's right,
looking good with your hair looking
good,
respectable.
There you go.
Yeah. Now I tell you what, Lawrence, a little birdie tells me that you once recorded at Tittenhurst Park, which was, I believe it belonged to Ringo once, and then John and Yoko had it. And that was where I would imagine, wasn't it? What were you doing there? What did you do?
There's a lot of little birdies been talking to you,
Angie.
I know.
Yes. Boydies have been very busy.
They're very gossipy.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the biggest highlights, it's funny, some of the biggest highlights I've had are in the UK, and yet I grew up here in Canada. But in 1984, on September the 7th, really prodded by a producer, a fellow by the name of David Tickle, who was a guy. He had worked at Tittenhurst Park, and Ringo had moved back to England, I think 1 or 2 years prior to that, I'm not sure. And he asked him, could we use the studio? There's a Canadian guy coming here to make a record. And Ringo said, yeah. So when I showed up on that day, I'll tell you why the day is so auspicious. It was February the 7th, 1984, 20 years exactly to the day that the Beatles arrived in North America.
Oh, yes.
Very astounding. So Ringo actually met us at the door, and he's kind of wished us good luck. And for the next, basically, practically 6 months, he would pop in every 2 or 3 days and a few words of encouragement. And he was obviously completely into music. He is Ringo. And it was astounding to be there. And I knew that John had lived there in the late 60s, and he made Imagine in that house. So I would sit there often late at night. Actually, come here, Dylan. Like, even quietly before we'd leave the studio every day, I'd just sit there really quietly because I didn't want to be too obvious.
Uh-oh, I'm going to have to talk over you because Facebook will take us down for copyrights. But we love that.
Oh no, that was a piece called Imagination. Totally different thing.
Written by you, right? With your permission.
Hang on. I'll show you the one I wrote. Hold on. That was wrong. Hang on. Here it is.
Close enough.
But no cigar.
It's a sad version. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, and that was called Dark Imagination, written by Lawrence Gowan. Happy Facebook.
Nice. Yes.
See.
Yeah. Well, they're only doing their job. Unfortunately, they don't have humans doing it. They have stupid algorithm, artificial stupidity machines doing it. Yeah. So
I hear one day those jobs might be taken over by people.
Yes, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
That'd be original, yeah. But
crazy, we can dream.
Let's talk about all these awards. You've been nominated for scads of awards.
And won a bunch more.
Juno Awards and
so cans.
Come on, it's boast time. Tell us all about
okay.
What's on
nominated far more than accepted. Yeah, there's in Canada the equivalent of the Grammy Awards, the Juno Award.
Yeah.
So there have been 13 nominations and 2 glorious victories. In that, I think one of the things I'm most proud of here, actually award-wise, is the Performing Rights Society, SOCAN. I have 4 songs now that have achieved what they call classic status, which means that they've been played on the radio over 100,000 times.
Wow.
And in Canada, that's, in America, it's 1 million times. In Canada, it's 100,000, 1/10 the size of the population. And I think that's the one I'm most pleased with at the moment.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
Have you ever heard of a Quebecois, he is English, Anglophone and Francophone artist called Jonas Tumulty, Jonas and the Massive Attraction?
I read his name on your site just a few days ago.
Check him out.
So yes, so in that case, yes, I've heard of him, but I'm away most of the year with Styx, and so I've fallen a little bit out of contact with the Canadian music scene, which is extremely vibrant and he's always coming up with great new stuff. He's
based out of Montreal, and I know how separate Quebec tends to be artistically from the rest of Canada. But he has a restaurant in Montreal called Rosewood. So if you're getting there, let us know. We'll hook you guys up.
Yeah.
Well, merci beaucoup, Jonas.
Canadian
to voir mariage.
Oh my God.
Pas de problème. So, Miss Angie, what's next?
Well, didn't you also receive, what's a certified platinum award? Didn't you get one for Criminal Minds? I read somewhere.
Of course. What am I thinking of? This is what happens. You see, last week at a Gowan show, we played at a place called Caesars in Windsor. Right as we reached the peak of the show, suddenly this fellow I know, Brad Macri from the record company, he came walking on stage, and I'll tell you honestly, for the first few seconds, I wasn't thrilled with it because I thought, what is he doing coming on stage? Especially since we built up to, what for a lot of people is kind of a signature song.
Yeah. And
suddenly he said that this song, A Criminal Mind, which came out in 1985, and that was recorded at Tittenhurst Park, that it had finally achieved platinum. So as a platinum single is kind of rare because it was a gold single back in 1985, which is also rare. But since then, they have been counting, streaming and downloads, etc. So it had finally reached its platinum plateau, and I was happy. The audience was happy, and then we played the song. And
that's great. We have a request from Stephen Onsager, who is flying out to Palm Springs to see your gig at Agua Caliente. And he wants, please, if you can, to play A Criminal Mind in Palm Springs.
I'll definitely bring it up.
You bring it to the next band meeting, huh?
You know, a Styx show, the set list at a Styx show is very tough to crack. There are so many hits that the band had long before I was in it. And there's really, as JY says, there's like an embarrassment of riches of choices to play. We did play a Criminal Minds several times this year when we toured Montreal and Toronto. And we always played here.
Move to your right. I'm losing you. I'm losing your face. Right. Move to your right. There you go. Yep, to your right. There you go.
This is my right.
There we go.
This is my left.
There you go. That's right.
Which one do you like better?
You're back in frame. No, you're half in frame now. There we go. Perfect.
Now sit still.
I feel so much better.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you know, I have a suggestion. Maybe Gowan could open for Styx.
Oh boy.
What a wonderful suggestion. I hope they can afford it.
It's just a little schizophrenic, you know, that's all. Yeah. So listen, what else do you want to promote or plug or tell the world about? Go for it.
Well, I'll tell the world that, you know, things are great in Canada. And do you want to see our dog?
Yes.
Yes.
We usually have Butch Cassidy, our cat, in, but he didn't make an appearance this week. So.
Yes, oh, please. Really? Oh, maybe they can do a tea chat one day. Hang on.
Yes, exactly.
Dogs and cats.
Where's Tango?
And of course, a big thank you once again to Amanda and APCPR for getting this organized.
Yes.
Amanda.
Okay, this is his name's Tango. He's a vicious pit bull. Okay, so be careful. Stand back.
All right.
That's what the lady said he was when we bought him. There he is. Yeah.
Oh, heavily disguised. Oh, bless
I think, yes.
Lovely.
Yeah, this is anyway, they're an incredibly gentle breed.
Oh, he's a vicious pit bull in his Halloween costume, dressed as a multi-poo.
Yeah.
Hi, Angie.
Hello.
Hi, Tango.
Hello.
That's Tango.
Oh, how lovely, yes.
So I think, Mother, can you take over camera? So I'm going to squeeze in behind Mother. Traditionally, we...
Oh, hi, Ruth. There you are.
We close our... I'm going to share the chair with her. There you go. Traditionally, we close our broadcasts with a little limerick here. I'm going to have to put my old lady glasses on. So the writer in the family here, she wrote created you your very own limerick. I'm sorry, it's not Scottish, it's Irish.
Oh, all right.
So,
okay. 1, 2, 3. Today, our dear musical guest, who easily proved he was best at telling his stories of new and past glories, on his laurels he never will rest. Ta-da! I don't think it'll make it into the charts, but hey.
I like it.
Oh,
I was just happy that the word Nantucket was never used in that limerick.
Oh, I do have that in my limerick book, but not in front of the children, if you please.
Yes,
or Tango.
We weren't off the coast of Nantucket in a punt either.
Do you want to tell that one?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay, fine.
It's jolly good.
Okay, so thank you, Per Martin.
Thank you.
For taking care of this mammoth production.
Absolutely.
Which I'm sure will be absolutely a blockbuster. It'll kill the internet, probably.
And thank you again, Amanda Kagan at ABCPR, for getting the wonderful Lawrence Gowan. Big round of applause. Thank you very much. And,
absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.
Shana Tova, Happy New Year to all our Jewish friends, of course.
Yom Kippur begins at sundown tonight, and we're thinking of all our Jewish friends.
Absolutely. And Agua Caliente, Styx, go to the Styx website, and we will be sending you some tea of your choice, Lawrence. This week's is Mop Top Maple, or we have Rockstar Rescue, so we'll get in touch and see which one of Mrs. McCartney's teas you would like to enjoy. And we will follow you on the road and talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
God bless. Bye-bye, love.
Lovely to meet you guys. Okay,
thanks.
Good time.
Go Maple Leafs. Yeah, Leafs.
Always a troublemaker, that Martin.